back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys! So I am here today to announce something super exciting and probably something some of you have already guessed, judging by some of the comments I've been getting about SPFBO recently, and that is that I am returning this year, 2018 to 2019, to be a judge for the SPFBO once again, or SPFBO as some of the other judges like to call it. So the SPFBO or SPFBO is the self-published fantasy blog off, and I was a judge for this in 2017 and 2018 and I really enjoyed it. This is a competition, or a prize I suppose, that is hosted by Mark Lawrence, and I will put a link to his blog where you can find out the full details about the competition because it is such an interesting one. It's all about raising awareness of good self-published books that really deserve more attention. It's just hard to get your voice heard sometimes, and this competition is all about just elevating those books that deserve to be spoken about and giving them more exposure, making people hear about them. So the idea of this competition is that it revolves around 10 bloggers and reviewers. I am one of those, and the others are all going to be linked down below because they are all so fantastic and I've got to know quite a lot of them since last year when I started, and they're well worth reading their blogs and checking them out and following them. So I will link them all below because they are so worth checking out. And the idea is that we, between the 10 of us, have 300 books given out, so about 30 each, and we all go through our pile, or our slush pile as they're called, and we read all 30. You don't have to read the whole book, you can read as much or as little as you want, but obviously if it's a good book you hope that you'll read the whole thing. If it's bad or it's not your personal preference, then you would maybe only read a bit of it. The judges will nominate one book from their selection of 30 as their favourite, and that one book will then go into the finals where everyone from the judging panel will read all the other books, and we will give an average score of everyone in the judging panel's ratings, and then one book will be chosen. So last year's winner was Rob J. Hayes. I'll put a picture of his up here. I did review it, I really enjoyed it. I definitely think it's a very worthy winner and one that will appeal to most people out there who like fantasy. So I think if you've not read that, I would highly recommend it. Some others last year that I really recommend are Devil's Night Dawning, Sufficiently Advanced Magic, which was actually my favourite in the end, Nice Dragons finished last by Rachel Aaron, Valley of Embers by Stephen Kellier, Exercise of Vital Powers, and many more. There were a lot on the shortlist, and long list in fact as well, that were so worthy of winning, and just, yeah, really great books, so worth your attention. So I would definitely highlight all of those to you guys to go check out either my reviews or some of the other bloggers' reviews on those books and see if they sound like your sort of thing, because I really think a lot of them are well worth reading. So with that in mind, this year I have been given a fresh 30 books to take a look at and see what I think. Hopefully I will find some really great ones, hopefully one in particular, really great one, and I will be able to review and tell you about all of them at some point in some capacity. My plan for this year is to just read everything and then decide on a list of maybe 5 or 10, depending on how good the quality is of my batch, that I really recommend and that I really think you guys should read, and of course then I will narrow it down to the one that I go and put forward to my finalist. So the books that I have been given this year are as follows, and I'm going to tell you 3 first that I actually picked for the cover contest. So each judge has to choose their 3 favourite covers from their batch, and I will tell you about those 3 first, and then I will tell you all the others in the selection that I've been given. Of course every blog gets different books, so there are hundreds to choose from, but my 30 are as follows. So the first one that I was given is Song by Jessie Teller, and this seems like it is a story about a prison break that has happened where a lot of prisoners have been released from Mending Keep, and then we have a character called Ralph Ivory Fist, who has to bring in his friends and hopefully save the day and attempt to protect the king. So that is the first cover that I loved and chose for the cover contest. The next cover that I chose is Oathbreaker, and this book is by Aaron Hodges. This one seems like a pretty cool one, and I hope there are actually dragons in this book. It says it's set a century after the departure of the gods from this world, and there are 3 nations who are now united under a Tsar. Magic has been outlawed, and anyone who has magic has to go to the Tsar and kind of present themselves. And I believe we're following a brother and sister who the brother has just found out that he's got magic, and they have to leave everything behind, flee before the Tsar's stalkers catch up with them. And the final one that I chose as part of the cover contest is The First Fear, which is by Matthew Olney. This one is definitely really reminiscent of Brandon Sanderson's covers, I think, which is probably why I like it, but I think it's really imposing and I just think it's gorgeous. So I'm hopeful that this one will be one I like. It says, the Supreme rules the world. For centuries, the Supreme has ruled with an iron fist. The people are at her mercy and everyone is under her thrall. Using a supernatural ability called the Power, she is able to control people, channel emotions, and give people superhuman abilities. Some people, however, do resist, and a few of them in fact possess the power themselves and try to fight back against this essentially overlord. No one has dared to challenge her outright until now. ElleKayEm, a young boy living on the edge, discovers he possesses the power and presumably he's not afraid to use it. So that is the third and final one that I entered for the cover contest, but again, it sounds pretty cool. So let's look at the rest of them. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of each of these just off of what I found on the Goodreads page, so I don't know any more than that. So I have The Thousand Scars by Michael R. Baker. The greatest war since chaos reigned has reached the Balean Empire. Within the council there is a rogue faction who unleashes magic to defeat its enemies, and we follow an exile called Tyrone Cecil who is forced to go on the run. His only chance is a bunch of cutthroat mercenaries called The Thousand Scars, hence the name of the book. Next up I have Soul Render, which is by T.L. Branson, and this one just has the tagline, "It takes a god to kill one," which is always good, a good tagline. Resistance fighter Will Sumner wants little more than to avenge his father who died at the hands of the ruthless king Alexandra Drago. When the opportunity arises for him to steal with a bunch of his friends the king's most prized possession, of course he takes it, and he learns that the gods of the old are not dead after all. Next up we have A Father's Fire, which is by P.G. Fogarty, and this one is based around a meteor that comes and crashes into the village of Great Warfire, and there's only one survivor who is then revived by a mirror demon, Goddy, but he decides he is going to trap this mirror demon somehow, and as this demon grows stronger, it threatens to consume him. I like demons, so this one could be interesting. Next up, I have The Dead Sagas, Volume 1, Part 1, A Ritual of Bone, and this is by Lee Conley. So this is set in a world where a great evil is suddenly spreading across the land, and the only chance they might have to find out about it and hopefully defeat it comes from the Dead Sagas. And this one is also described as a dark fantasy, which I kind of guessed from the cover, which is a bit creepy. So I'll see how I get on with that. Next up we have Fire's Song, and this one is by J.E. Mueller, or Miller, I'm not certain how I say that. This one follows a young girl called Kay who is determined to break the curse that she has upon her where her touch can kill. Next up we have Malice from the Middle Vale, and this one is by David Sharrock. I believe this is one of those kind of fantasy adventure books where you can kind of go through the adventure. I'm not exactly certain, but it seemed like that when I started opening up all the books just to check they were working. This one I didn't put on my Kindle because it looks like it's going to work much better in PDF, so I've left it as a PDF and I guess I'll see what happens. But it seems like it is a magical adventure story where you fill out all your stats and you choose a character and you go through the story as though you are playing a sort of D&D game. I've never read one of these books before, so I'm intrigued how I'm going to get on with it. We'll find out. Next up I have The Hidden Face by S.C. Flynn. This one is about a sun god called Aken. Every few hundred years descends to Earth and takes on human form. And every time they do descend, they have an unmasking, which marks the change of a new era. Next up, I have one called First Spell, which is by Lucia Ashta. Just an ordinary girl with a dream to become extraordinary, and the powers that will change her world. 16-year-old Isadora is recruited to join a secret school. She knows nothing of where she's going, but anything is better than being stuck at the house of her belittling uncle. When a sect of sorcerers set out after her to find her, she knows she hasn't got the skills to ward them off yet, and she needs to get to the academy. Next up, I have The Private Life of Jane Maxwell, which is by Jen Gott. This one is based around a character called Jane Maxwell, who is the creator of a popular comic franchise and knows a thing or two about heroes, but she has no illusion of being one herself. She finds herself in a parallel world, one where her characters are real and her parallel self is their leader. Next up, I have Hound and Key by Rhiannon Held. Key has lived her entire life in captivity, forced to use her magic to kill the enemies of Ariadne, an ageless woman with powerful magic of her own. Key knows she and Ariadne are both members of the Hand of the Gods, 5 souls reborn through the ages, but Key remembers none of her past lives. She chafes against Ariadne's control and longs to escape, lead a life of her own. I then have The EXILE'S Redemption by Rhys Dynn. The fate of a continent will be shaped by a few people. Awan, a butcher's son, Coma, a handmaiden to the Saban's daughter, Melanaise, a gifted young warrior, and Beroz, a lone warrior struggling to do his duty. Next up, we have The Banished Craft, which I have to mention I absolutely love the cover for this. I didn't think it stood out as much as some of the others I chose for the competition, but I think it's really cutesy. I don't know if this is a middle grade book because I don't think that's how it's pitched, but the cover reminds me of sort of middle grade, and it looks really adorable that she's in this library and she's done in this art style that's absolutely beautiful. So although I didn't choose this for the cover contest, I absolutely love the cover. A world split into 2, dragons and humans, which already is ticking some boxes. Each believe the other is a myth. In a world where women are not allowed to read, live alone, or pursue knowledge, this doesn't sound good, Core comes across a secret society who predicted the devastation that humankind can no longer ignore. A world away, another character, Atesh, is studying a magical plant that seeks to destroy his homeland and dragonkind with it. Core and Atesh must each decide, what will they sacrifice to give their world a chance? Next up, we have A Rift in the Deep, which is by Janelle Garrett. A darkness lurks beneath the surface, brooding and waiting. The deep writhes in currents of power, holding the rift at bay. But the stewards, accessors of the deep, have not walked the lands in 300 years. Their legend lives on, but it's just that, a legend. No one living remembers, and the witches wait for their return when all 4 stewards can unite to bring about the downfall of the rift. Next up, I have Forged in Flames. This is not a tale of redemption. It's not a path to inspire dreams. It is the rise of Lacrius, the man of many names, the deceiver of time, the king of fortune lost. I like a good, quick, snappy taglines. Next up, we have Spinning Silk by T. Cook. I do think the photography here is really nice. I'm just a bit scared of the fact that it has spider webs on it because I don't like spiders. A weaver's genius ignites the jealousy of her peers, the possessiveness of her mill's proprietress, and the hopes of an unborn nation. Things are more than they appear. Spinning Silk is Japanese-inspired folklore, and it does sound like there are gonna be evil spider spirits in it. Oh well. I can power through and hopefully enjoy it. Next up, I have Realm of the Mindweavers, Book 1, Tales of Golmeria. This one is by Marianne Ratcliffe. A ruler is betrayed and his daughter must flee or die. Teenage Zastra is a big disappointment to her father. Golmeria relies on people who can weave minds, men and women who can manipulate the thoughts of others. Zastra is determined to prove herself worthy of her father's respect, but her chance comes in an unexpected manner. Next up, I have Sir EDRIC'S Kingdom, which is by Thaddeus White. This one is about King Lawrence, who is poisoned and consigned to his sickbed, and Sir Eric Greenlock, the hero of Honska, is thrust into the position of Lord Steward. Sir Edric soon discovers ruling a kingdom is about as relaxing as being a Gorgon's barber. Next, we have The Anointed by Keith Ward. Being a hero is a choice. Zinla's life goal is modest. He wants to be a living legend, revered in song and story. And he's off to a good start. He's faced death once and won. His legend grew at least in his mind. Fame comes calling on Zinless again, or so he thinks when he stumbles onto a hidden village. The village has a resource no one has seen before, a resource that people will kill for. Next up I have The Crushed Peak, which is by Richard Lucas. Nightmares sleep, shadows merely wait. And it's about a mountain where there is magic running loose. Next up we have Thief of Sparks by Eric Kent Edstrom. She thought she was stealing gold to save her brother. Instead she steals a key that will unlock her destiny. Next up I have Hostile Takeover by Christelle Comby. Moonlighting as Death's earthbound envoy, P.I. Bellamy VALE specialises in weird, wacky and the slightly unhinged. When a mysterious beast savagely mules random residents of Cold City, the police assume that the killings are a rogue wolf, but experienced private investigator Bellamy VALE is unconvinced. So I guess this one is kind of a urban fantasy police procedural with hopefully fantasy elements? We'll see. Next we have Faces in the Mist. This one is by Timothy C. Doyle. For centuries, 9 powerful families have been tasked with keeping dark powers of the world at bay. 12-year-old Jacob Turner happens to belong to one of these families. This, however, is a fact of which he is entirely unaware. Jacob's life takes a drastic turn when he is attacked by a dark creature in his hometown. In grave danger, he's sent to the house for protection. Hidden deep in the valleys of Virginia, in the mountains of Virginia, he learns of his family's unusual magical gift, as well as his place in the historic battle against evil. Next up, we have The Fallen, which is by Lee French and Eric Court. For hundreds of years, the Blaukanev clan has wandered across Tilzam, from one end to the other and back. Each wagon carries history, love, laughter, pain, sorrow, and secrets. Their greatest secret of all, however, may be Shivali, the clan seer. I actually really like the Clan of the Cave Bear books, so if it's anything like that, might be good. Next up I have Harkworth Hall by L.S. Johnson. Caroline Daniels must marry and marry well, but in her remote corner of England, eligible suitors are few and far between, and none hold a candle to her close friend Diana Fitzroy. When Sir Edward Masterton arrives, her future seems secure with him until he reveals some dark secrets of his own and a creepy interest in Caroline's blood. Raven Thrall, which is by J. Elizabeth Vincent. Maria left everything behind to avoid a life of slavery. Will she return to her homeland and risk her freedom to save a stranger's family? Born a freak, betrayed by her mother, forced from her home, Maria considers herself nothing less than a freak. After all, no one else is half human, half hawk. That sounds weird. Living alone, away from prying eyes, in a kingdom that would make her a slave, 2 young raven shifters have been stolen, and she might be the only one who can save them. This is a weird concept, but I'm intrigued, so we'll see. Sorry for the slightly different angle. There were 2 books that I accidentally somehow mixed up, and I didn't film them in the original video, so this is an edit that I'm just editing in quickly of the last 2 books in my batch. So, those books are Wolfgang, which is by F.D. Gross, and this one says, 16 years have passed since the death of Lord Eagleson, the vampire lord who sought to be human once again. He was defeated by the noble Wolfgang, but Wolfgang suddenly returns to find everything he's held dear has been taken from him. His wife is dead, his house is burned, and his child is nowhere to be found, and only the smallest inclination leads him to believe that his orphan servant might be part of the cause. He is desperate and he is provoked, thus begins the path of darkness with Wolfgang. So that one sounds pretty good, I have to admit, and I also really like the cover of this one. It seems very sort of mysterious and ethereal, and I'm up for that. And the final one I have on my list is Wasting, the Book of Maladies, and this one is by D.K. Holmberg. So this is set in a land which is called Verdholm, and Verdholm is separated out between canals, and there are the highborn on one side and the lowborn on the other side. And in theory there is isolation to this place. It's surrounded by sort of swamp and deadly areas, and it's there to protect people until the day when it doesn't. For our main character Sam, we have a thief, and she is just desperate to steal as much as she needs to get by and keep looking after her brother, until one day she is offered a job she cannot refuse, and she has to take it to change her fortune. But it seems like the outside forces are closing in on this town and city, and I guess there's going to be magic involved, and I'm intrigued. So that is the last one in my batch. So bye bye edited me, hello normal me. So that, my friends, is everything. quite a lot of books, I know, but I would really appreciate your help on this. So do go into the comments and let me know which ones you are most excited about, which ones you really want me to read faster than the others. I'd love to know. Officially, the competition starts on the 1st of August, so you won't see any reviews until after that date. But I will be planning on picking some of these up, hopefully in the month of July, and starting them. So do leave me your comments below on which ones you are most interested in, and if you are interested in following the SPFBO, then do go and look at Mark Lawrence's blog and all the other bloggers that I've linked below, because we'll be doing a lot there, and there's loads of stats already there. There is also a Facebook group if you're interested, so you can join there as well. Just do a search for SPFBO on Facebook. But yeah, really enjoyable competition, one that I am super a big fan of and very excited to be involved in again. And of course I will let you guys know what I think of these as I go through them. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.